The season finale awaits, and there are 3 riders in for the fight for the British Talent Cup, with 50 points up for grabs here at the final round in Valencia. The inaugural season of the British Talent Cup has one more battle to fight, the season finale, alongside here, round 19 of the MotoGP World Championship for 2018. We're at the Circuito Ricardo Tormo, and what a venue it is, this stadium section that we have building up this enormous fight between Thomas Strudwick. We have Rory Skinner and Max Cook battling it out for the win. Rory Skinner heads into the last 2 races of the year with a 12-point advantage over his nearest challenger, Thomas Strudwick, with 50 points still on the table. It's far from a done deal for the Scotsman. Everything is in play, and that includes Max Cook in third. A further 17 points adrift, and the last of the trio who could take the inaugural cup. But 3 aren't racing alone. Far from it. Anything could happen. After the super-fast circuits of Silverstone and Assen, the circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia is a very, very different venue. The tight layout fits a unique amphitheatre and gives the crowd a view of every corner and every seat, creating an incredible atmosphere, even more so when there is a title on the line. Get ready for the final round of the inaugural British Talent Cup. Well, it's a very good afternoon to you from the circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. I'm ashamed to say it is absolutely drenched out there. All the action from the Grand Prix classes has finished for Friday. We've had 3 very, very wet free practice sessions for Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP, but now it's time to race. The British Talent Cup are already on the grid underneath umbrellas, as they usually are, never mind what the weather is, but they definitely need them today. It is absolutely sodden out there. What drama awaits? My goodness, if you're in one of the 3 riders in contention for this British Talent Cup, like Rory Skinner on your screens right there, Thomas Strudwick will be right alongside him in second place, but Max Cook will head the second row. Those 3 guys are the ones who can take the title, but my goodness, they have one hell of a race up ahead of them with these sorts of conditions. Myself, Matt Dunn, bringing you the commentary alongside Fran Wild. Fran, a very warm welcome to you. We, of course, were not present in the last British Talent Cup round. We only had one race the round before that where we were present in Silverstone. What are your thoughts heading into this one?
I think it's going to be a pretty interesting showdown here, and especially given, like you said, the weather not really at its Spanish best. But yeah, so I don't think the welcome can be that warm. It's pretty cold out there as well. Quite difficult conditions. Obviously, there have been quite a few crashes in other classes today as well. So it's a seriously challenging situation for these guys who are fighting for the cup. Obviously, it's a lot on the right line when it's just a race win, but especially when you've got the title in play and the points differences aren't that big, anything can happen when you can lose everything in one corner and one little mistake in wet conditions.
That is pretty much as brutal as it sounds when you're at this stage. This is the Road to MotoGP program. Some of these riders as well, this sort of platform really gives riders a leg up if they're maybe struggling to get the career off the ground due to fundings, etc. This is so important for them to get a result in, and even especially to get that championship win. It says something massive on your CV going into future.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, it's part of the Road to MotoGP program. So the point is these guys get a place to hone their racecraft and get that experience just below that sort of Moto3, even maybe Junior World Championship or certainly World Championship level. And yeah, just get to hone all their skills and racecraft here in the British Talent Cup. And like you said, especially it's free to race in, so it's a super important initiative. And the Asia Talent Cup, obviously a sister kind of program, that's had a lot of success, and British Talent Cup gaining some good traction now. And we've got some good talent up for the win. So here we have Fenton Seabright back on the grid. Obviously took that incredible podium right at the start of the season, and then he struggled a lot with injury, so great to see him back. But he could be a bit of a complicating factor in the mix at the front, because he showed when he was at full strength in that season opener he is a serious force to be reckoned with. But now he's obviously well back on points, can't do anything about taking the cup itself, but could be in the battle with these fastest few at the front.
Yeah, and he's just showing how much return to form he had. He only managed to score 11 points and then 7 points in the last 2 races we had before that. Of course, well, we didn't have a second race in Silverstone, but Fenton Seabright down 12th in the championship. championship because of this injury. Missed out 5 races in a row, including the one that was cancelled at Silverstone. So his obviously championship challenge is over, but he needs to really prove himself. He needs that result, needs that little sort of gold star in his career. Whatever happens with him next year, he could cause some real issues for Rory Skinner and Thomas Strudwick, who are ahead of him on the road, and Max Cook just behind him, heading the second.
Yeah, definitely. I think Seabright should be a really interesting quantity in this race. Like we said, in that season opener, I would even go out on a limb and say he was the man of the day when he took that podium from, I think it was even a pit lane start. It wasn't even the back of the grid. Wow. Absolutely incredible performance. Then, unfortunately, not got to see the rest of that kind of year develop in the way it maybe should have done and see him really fight for the title. But now he is back and up to speed on the front row, and yeah, it may not just be a case of shuffling positions for those top 3 in the points on the podium. And we'll have to see, you know, it's a difficult decision. Do you risk it for those 25 points? Maybe do you let Seabright take a little less risk, look after your sort of campaign, and then let it go down to tomorrow's race? Or, you know, with such difficult conditions here, we've had a couple of race cancellations in this Cup. That's always a worry. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, that sort of calculations is part of the thing which they actually try and teach you in the British Talent Cup with the Road to MotoGP programme. They're so well connected with, for example, Alberto Puig. And as we saw with you and me commentate also on the Asia Talent Cup as well, it's all in the Road to MotoGP programmes, they teach you not just racecraft, but championship craft as well. What is the risk versus reward in each given situation? It's 12 points between the top 2 in the championship at the moment. It really could be worth, if someone is looking quite dominant, they're going to cause you a few issues. Just be like, wins all yours, mate. I need to get these 5 of, well, it's between first and second, 5-point gap. Between second and third, a 4-point gap. Actually, 4 points is better than risking it for 5 and then getting none. Exactly, yeah, that's something that Marc Marquez is probably the best example of. Yeah. Since his absolute win or bin in 2015, perfectly played that, with a possible exception of Argentina. But, you know, we all have off days. And I think it's a really important question, that, and something that's certainly very interesting when they are at this level in their careers. Not as much experience of that. Like you said, Marquez, super season campaigner, few championships, and still learning that lesson in 2015, in his 3rd season in the Premier class of Grand Prix racing. Yeah. You can kind of get the idea. Maybe it doesn't sink in immediately the first time you're up for the British Talent Cup title. Well, I'll tell you what, that's just led on perfectly. That is one of the reasons why the British Talent Cup, the Asia Talent Cup, even the European Talent Cup, they're all so exciting. The racing always completely unpredictable. You got a load of Brits on that grid, a couple of Irishmen as well, and we'll be getting ready to go with some absolutely phenomenal racing, without a doubt. Yeah, definitely is some of the most exciting racing in the world in these junior programs quite often. Super, super close. In the British Talent Cup, we've had a few distinct groups at times this year, but the racing in each of them has been absolutely incredible, and a lot of guys making some really impressive progress. So, yeah, it's always super entertaining, and especially in the wet, could be even more crazy at times. Maybe we'll have to see how much they're willing to risk it, or even into one on the wall, like a little bit frisky. But you see Skinner there taking over on the white line and on the curb. Yeah. That's something Marquez has been doing today in MotoGP practice, and you could see in one of the sessions, followed by Alvaro Bautista, who was almost riding on a different track, would not go near those track limits at all, didn't want to risk it. Obviously it's super, super slippy out there, but you can really get an advantage if you're feeling confident and you can work with it to just use that confidence and pull away. But it's going to be a really interesting one, I think, this. And this one lap back to the grid, with rain continuing to fall on and off, it's not much chance to see what those conditions are like until they're bombing it down into turn 1 for the first time. Yeah, well, there are the championship standings on your screen at the moment. 12 points separate Skinner and Strudwick. Cook just behind with 29 points. Those are the 3 men, well, 3 young chaps that could take the British Talent Cup. I feel we need to use more words like that, given it's the old British Talent Cup. I like the word chaps, actually. Yes. Are you also going to say tally-ho when the lights go out? Yeah, 100%. I think I did that in Silverstone. I think you actually did, maybe. We will have to do this. But, I mean, I'm looking at the form of these guys here, and it's been a clear man at the front of the field, with 4 wins to his name so far this season. Rory Skinner, I think it's a catch-2. He must be, one, feeling super ridiculously confident ahead of this, like, hey, I'm in the lead, I can do this, I've won it 4 times before, won races 4 times before here, I can take this all the way, no troubles. But also, he's the one with everything to lose. Yeah, absolutely. He's obviously got that advantage. That can be harder to have the target on your back rather than knowing that you've just got to throw everything at it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Like you said, Skinner has often been the class of the field. He's got a bit more experience than the other guys, you know, raced in the Red Bull Rookies Cup and the CV as well. But yeah, just a few, not quite as consistent at times as Strudwick especially has been. Max Cook equally, what's kind of made him suffer a little bit in the standings is consistency. But now that's all out the window and it all comes down to this one race. Or well, this one race weekend.
This one race weekend. We just had all the championship contenders in one frame there, all keeping a very close eye on each other. Beautiful sort of shots of the clear visors of these riders. You can really see all the pressure, the adrenaline flowing through their veins as and how glary-eyed they could be ahead of this race. Their hearts must be absolutely pounding out of their chest. Well, I thought we had a multicoloured red flag for a second there, but no, it's the fraction of the light from the safety car. So revs are about to go up. The man at the front of the grid with the red flag is about to walk off, and we are going to get ready to go racing from the penultimate race of the inaugural year of the British Talent Cup. Will we find a champion crowned tomorrow? Well, the lights are going to come on, and then they're going to go out, and we're going to get ready to go racing. The lights are on, and it's tally-ho, away we go with the penultimate race of the 2018 British Talent Cup, and it is number 8, Thomas Strudwick, who seems to have got the whole shot. But who's that? Number 2, Jack Nixon, just behind him, coming up the inside, down into turn 1. But look at that, it's number 10, Jack Hart, who's managed to secure second place ahead of Rory Skinner, but he's going round the outside. What a move round there. No, he doesn't. Blimey, what drive that Jack Hart managed to just get out of that one there. Breaking down into turn 2, very, very treacherous indeed. Or everyone wants to keep it upright at this stage. Don't want to ruin your race completely this early on. My goodness, look at all the flow of the white bikes around there. Strudwick already a few bike lengths gap as we come down into turn 4. Very tricky corner. This is the classic place where people tend to go down at Valencia.
Yeah, definitely. You can see a few guys maybe a little bit more confident off the line with a bit less to lose, but Thomas Strudwick absolutely caning it there. And well in the lead at the moment, but it can change very, very quickly in the wet, obviously. No need to panic about a gap like that at the moment. And Skinner hopefully will know that. Keep a calm head. He's in second fairly safely at the moment. Doesn't look too threatened from behind, although I may have spoken too soon. We'll have to see. It's Max Cook who's just off that a little bit, and he'll want to be careful he doesn't get swallowed up by that mid-pack too much.
Yeah, it looks like Fenton Seabright really capitalised on his front row start. Well, I say capitalised, he's technically gone back a place, but he's definitely not lost anything at this particular stage. He's stalking Rory Skinner at the moment. And where is Max Cook? Well, we saw him back there, but this is number 9. That's Brian Hart. Well, we're keeping an eye on Max Cook, who's ahead of him, the number 5. Cook is in 5th place. So he's just behind Jack Hart ahead of him, keeping these guys well in check. I'm a bit concerned, Fran. There's a few gaps heading out at this stage in the game already, and we've got 17 laps to go.
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously a few different levels of confidence out there in these difficult conditions. And Max Cook did lose out a bit there. Obviously, like you said, he was at the head of the second row, so lost a couple of places. But also, it's a fair bit of distance back to the number 5 in 5th. So he'll want to start eating into that pretty quickly, I imagine, and get past Hart ahead of him and see if he can catch these guys, because he is the one who is furthest back, 29 points adrift. So we'll have to see. I'm sure he'll be getting his head down and just trying to throw everything at it now to make sure those two don't get away in the front.
We didn't talk about it in the race preview. We are a little bit short of time, as I'm sure you can appreciate, but this is the exact type of thing that Strudwick needed. Well, if he had the confidence to do it, it's exactly what he needs to do to keep those championship hopes alive. Just literally clear off into the distance. He has some pretty solid pace from the free practice sessions, and also in qualifying, second on the grid, of course, although he was way down in the first practice session. Having said that, the conditions were absolutely atrocious around about this time yesterday. But Strudwick, if he has the confidence, he needs to get out in front, stay there as he is doing at the moment, and just clear off. Keep Rory Skinner in front. Oh, he's not gone down. Oh, it's Seabright who's gone down at turn 5. Oh, what a shame. He was brimming with confidence, but maybe a little bit too much at that stage. He's gone down. He's done some lawn mowing. Thankfully for the groundkeepers here at Valencia, they'll thank him for that. He will not be chuffed with it, though, one little bit. Well, could it be then a showdown between Skinner and Strudwick in this race? Skinner might get a message on his pit board this time around. He has no threats from Seabright just behind him now.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that gives them a bit of breathing space, but a shame for Fenton Seabright. Like I said, missed so much of the season through injury, but up and okay straight away. Obviously, seeing if he can try and rejoin. Could be an interesting one, you know, especially in these conditions. If he can get going again, he did an awful lot from pit lane, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But certainly for these guys, the complicating factor of Seabright is now out the running, and it it looks like Max Cook as well is starting to make some moves.
Oh, that's Jack Hart going down in a big way at turn 12. Oh dear, I was just about to comment how Max Cook did a full connect, tapping his rear seat unit, stay stick on my back. Unfortunately, he couldn't down at turn 12, but it looks like the way he flicked up his visor, he was sat there and up and okay. It's just a tear off there on the brow of the hill there. So, wow, our 3 championship contenders all have a little bit of space around them, clear track ahead of them. Strudwick won't know that it's just these 2 behind him at the moment. That pressure could be pretty overwhelming if he's not careful. Jack Hart up and okay, thankfully.
Yeah, it looked like it could have been a little bit nastier, that one. Obviously, not just a low side, low speed crash. I think we're going to get a replay of it here. Yeah, just actually avoided getting hit by the bike really in the gravel trap, which is can be one of the most difficult things in crashes like that. It's not just you coming to a stop on the floor, there's also that to consider, so that's great to see. Seems to be up and okay. I'm sure very frustrated because that was a great fighting for 3rd there and had been in that position for a while, so shame for him, but definitely a positive for Max Cook, I should imagine. A little bit less pressure around him now. I think it's going to be pretty interesting with these 3 guys now. They've all found their own space. They've got, you know, plenty of time to breathe and just calm down. No pressure, no one breathing down the neck, but I think as well that brings its own difficulties because there isn't that person to sort of either be a reference right in front of you maybe or to kind of keep you on it. Your brain can really wander. It's not a lack of concentration, but it's super hard to focus when you're just out on your own in a bit of clear track and trying to put in those lap times, especially in conditions like this. And
if you're thinking about putting yourself in the mindset of someone like Rory Skinner or Max Cook behind Thomas Strudwick, looking at the person ahead of you, you could tell if they're getting further away at you. You can maybe, I'm not sure if they're close enough to be able to see exactly where they're gaining or losing on them. But then Max Cook falling ever further behind Skinner there, it seems. But there's a big group and a big ding-dong battle going up behind them. We'd love to see what's going on more of it then. It's Nixon who's heading the pack there. But we're looking at Rory Skinner at the moment, fully tucked in, his rain suit flapping around in the breeze. That must be a bit distracting for him. We talk about distractions, lack of a lapse of concentration, perhaps. I do wonder how they cope with that.
You never know, if it's hitting him too hard, might be a bit of a jockey effect. Give him a bit of a G-up. But yeah, it definitely seems like that's come a bit unlodged. Not probably what he wants. But again, it's just something he's got to block out of his mind, just focus on that bike ahead of him, or even just focus on himself. If that gap back to Max Cook in 3rd stays similar to this, that is pretty fine for the Scotsman. He can afford to take that hit in the points. Obviously, it makes the hill a little bit steeper tomorrow for him to climb to take the cup. But also, you know, he doesn't need to throw it all away right now. A 2nd place is pretty good for the Scot.
Yeah, Rory Skinner, I mean, given this the first inaugural year of the British Talent Cup, many people won't know Rory Skinner has a lot of experience in some pretty tough levels of racing. He is a very, very smart, wise kid. That's why he has 4 wins to his name in this first season of the Cup. So if there's anybody on this circuit at the moment who will know pretty much exactly what he needs to do to win this championship and the sensible decision, it is definitely Skinner. So as it stands, the championship gap will be down to 7 points. But it does make it a little bit tougher tomorrow, but that's better than Rory Skinner pushing to try and catch Strudwick and crashing out. Now it's just a case of what will Strudwick do? Will he be trying to push on further, think of Rory Skinner's hunting him down? Will he then force himself into mistake? Time will tell. 14 laps to go at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think for Max Cook, like you just saw on that graphic, he'd be 33 points adrift, I think it said. So obviously that will put him out of contention with only 25 on the board for a win tomorrow. So he's got some decisions to make as well. He absolutely has to throw the kitchen sink at this and really catch them and overtake them. You know, obviously sometimes you can also rely on the look of your rivals if you can see they're pushing the limit too much. But with both of those guys ahead of him, I think it's definitely a case of he has to do everything in his power to really just throw a bit of caution to the wind if he wants to take that Cup title tomorrow. Yeah, 3 different dynamics for these riders. Max Cook, I think he's going to get to a stage where he's going to have to try and win it or bin it if he's going to keep these championship hopes alive. We're on board with Rory Skinner now, completely tucked in the bubble. It looks like we got a bit of blue sky overhead. Is that just the angle and of the camera? We have a little bit, Fran, a little bit of blue sky. My goodness me. Well,
Not seen that in a little while, have we?
I like how it brought the blue sky as soon as I'm inside again.
Yes.
So, you know, that's great luck, thanks. But, yeah, definitely good news for these guys. If it does start drying out, obviously that should get a little bit better and better. And, yeah, could be interesting with the wet tyres, because I was just talking to Marc Marquez after being fastest in MotoGP today. He does say that this track is very good. It drains pretty well, and there's a lot of grip out there. But, yeah, the conditions changing and getting drier is its own challenge as well. It's not just when it's raining more and more.
Oh, who's that down there? Is that from before? Who are we looking at the moment? That is Skinner. It is, that's Irwin who's crashed out at the moment. It seems, no, it's not. It's Strudwick. Oh, my goodness. Well, we've just literally been talking about it. Oh, wow. Thomas Strudwick has crashed out. Could that be the end of his championship fight? Pretty much. Rory Skinner is in the lead here. Max Cook moved up to second place. Strudwick has completely thrown it away.
That's crazy. Obviously, we could see on our timing screen that we had a crash for Irishman Rhys Irwin just before that, but couldn't really tell. It looked like it might be a lap runner. So if Skinner can keep his head and not repeat that mistake of his biggest rival, he is going to be the champion today.
Wow, I was not expecting that one little bit. 13 laps to go, and oh my goodness me, Rory Skinner, you just need to keep a sensible head, Sunshine. You can even go back down to second place if you want. He could be the champion after this race.
Yeah, definitely. He can afford to really slack off now, take it super steady, but sometimes that can be even worse. If you're, you know, in that groove and you're in a good rhythm, it's always good to keep pushing. You know, there's a few famous examples of, you know, just thinking you've got it kind of sewn up and just slacking off a bit, and that's actually worse for your concentration.
My goodness me, well, what drama. We said anything can happen in the British Talent Cup, and it just literally did. Thomas Strudwick, he definitely had the confidence to go out and clear off and try and maintain a gap, but unfortunately, well, his ambition has got on the best of him there, as he's, well, completely thrown it away potentially. Will Rory Skinner do the same? Who knows?
Yeah, I thought you were going to go for the full ambition outweighs talent quote there, so you slightly back out of it with a wry smile there.
I didn't want to roast it too much.
Harsh.
This is a heartbreaking time for poor Strudwick with that one.
Yeah, definitely. He put in an incredible performance at the start of this race, just streaking away from the pack there. And, you know, if we're saying that Valentino's Malaysian race was his best of the year, like he said yesterday in the press conference, then, you know, that performance up to that point has still got an awful lot of value. Super impressive race from Strudwick until that point. And in many ways, that's kind of what you have to do when you do have that deficit. You've got to push sometimes.
Yeah.
So obviously not worked out. Maybe he did just have the deficit to have taken it a little bit easier. But I think time will tell now. Skinner getting pretty wide out there on the curb, not being too cautious about it at all.
He needs to be very, very careful there. And Max Cook does look to be, I'm not sure if it's just the camera angle, but could he be closing him down ever so slightly? The gap at the moment, well, last time around was 3.8 seconds. I'm not so sure, but what I was about to add was if one of the very best of the best of the best can make this sort of mistake whilst out in the lead and feeling good and comfortable, so can someone who's just starting out their career in the British Talent Cup. Yeah,
definitely, exactly, and that was even in the dry. But yeah, that gap, we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's a bit difficult to tell because last time around, obviously we'd had a bit of that drama with the Strudwick crash, but I have to see if that gap comes down at all. Obviously now Max Cook's seen Strudwick crash, that will probably give him a little bit more reason to be cautious, but he also now knows there's one rival ahead of him, and to stay in this fight, he really has to be in front of Skinner. If he wins it, takes those 25 points, he can cut that deficit for tomorrow to 24 off Skinner and just still be in a shot tomorrow in race 2. So it's a pretty important one for Max Cook to be able to catch the Scot and pass him, but we will find out if he has got a little bit more pace in a minute when they cross the timing line again. So yeah, he has cut actually a sizable chunk off there, about 7 or 8 tenths on that lap. So wow, that's pretty impressive. I think as well for Skinner, he's obviously seen his biggest rival crash right in front of him, and that can also play on your mind a fair bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. There is, well, the sun is coming out a little bit more. Got some beautiful shots, almost like sunset shots going in. Absolutely wonderful little glistening sunshine off his visor there, giving you some great shots of his eyes, where he's keeping focused. Rory Skinner, got to be careful with his hairband there. He might want to get a hairband. I'm sure Aaron Connect's got a few that they can loan him, so the hair doesn't get in his eyes when he puts his helmet on. But yes, he could be in a little bit of trouble here, at least for the win. But hey, it would still be enough to take the championship. But does he want to take that championship in style? Does he want to really make a point? Rory Skinner, stay away from the edge of those curbs. Those are so slippery. What are you doing?
Yeah, definitely taking some big chances, it would seem, out there. But obviously, you know, if they can feel that it's actually okay and they can take that chance, it doesn't, you know, it's not too slippy out there, then obviously they'll keep doing it. They'll try and use the best line possible. But, you know, it could be, yeah, certainly it's something that you're naturally cautious of as a viewer, and you see usually riders not very keen to go on the paint at all when it's wet or even just a little bit damp. And as you can see, we have got some sunshine, but there's still a fair bit of spray coming up, and the track is still very wet.
Yeah, and the temperature's pretty cold as well, so I don't think there'll be any too much issue with the real change of conditions too much. Just maybe the conditions might change from lap to lap a bit, and you need to stay completely as concentrated as you are. 2.5 seconds the gap at the moment. And of course, all the action behind has let this man, Joshua Watley, the number 6, up into 3rd place. He's managed to just pull a little bit of a gap over Peterson just behind him. Well, this is a cracking ride from Joshua Watley.
I think it's Patterson. Sorry.
Are you
I
sure
believe
it's
an
Patterson?
alternative spelling of Patterson.
My goodness, but our good friend Simon Patterson has 2 T's, and that's definitely Patterson, not Peterson.
Indeed, I think it's just a different spelling of the name, but I don't know. Feel free to tweet us or write in to complain if I'm very wrong about that, or likewise if Matt is.
Well, I mean, I'd rather you write in and complain about me, to be honest.
But you
Spare
could
my
see
innocent colleague.
on the graphic a minute ago that the gap between those two has come down a lot. Here we see Thomas Strudwick. It's difficult to know what he'll be feeling at the moment. I'm sure, obviously, a lot of disappointment and frustration. But, you know, if you know you've got to try sometimes in situations, you know, again, Marc Marquez keep name-checking a lot today, but he's a good example of so much, being the reigning MotoGP champion. He's, you know, says sometimes he's just tried in those last lap battles with Dobby just to be able to sleep at night and know he gave it a good shot. So,
yeah.
you know, sometimes there's that to think about as well, but at the moment I'm sure he'd just be a bit disappointed. But it's still quite a few laps to go here, 10, so Rory Skinner has to keep it together for another 10 laps, and Max Cook is on his tail as it stands. Yeah,
on his tail, and Max Cook will be fighting for what will be the 2nd place in the championship as well. A lot of pride at stake here too. So all to play for tomorrow still, even if Rory Skinner does keep it all together over these next 10 laps to actually take the title. Though 2.5 seconds last time around was the gap. Is that 2.5 seconds now, Fran?
I don't know. I would say no, but it's really hard to judge with these slightly smaller capacity machines, and also obviously with the conditions. It is obviously when you're going slower, smaller distance takes a longer time. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Here we go. There you see again the timing screen shows us, or timing screen graphics show us, it's very much not 2.5 seconds. So
it's 1.5.
He's really catching him, and this can change the complete colour of the day for Rory Skinner. This is the difference between winning the Cup today and being forced to wait for another crack at it tomorrow, although he'd go into it with a 24-point lead, I believe. If my maths is on point, I'm not really sure. It's been quite a long day, but I'll try my best.
You and me have been very ambitious over the last several weekends with the Edge of Talent Cup as well, trying to work out gaps with in the championship standings. I think we've largely done pretty okay.
We've not done so badly, and we have our wonderful colleague Esther helping us out with the graphics that basically just answer the questions our brains are too slow to quite keep up with. So yeah, but as you can see, this gap coming down, this is going to be pretty interesting now. Does Skinner want to push on and then take it today, or will he just give it a little bit more patience and try and go into tomorrow with that lead instead and be more cautious? Great slow-mo shot there. You can see how much water is still coming off the back wheel there.
Oh, beautiful as the lights off hits the curb as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great mix when there's just that peak of sunshine coming through. And I'd wager that that's less than a second and a half now as well. He's really reeling him in now, is Max Cook, in super good rhythm. Yeah, he definitely is. I think Rory Skinner might, if he knows he's caught, he might just let him through and say, after you, sunshine. Or, well, it's a young man. It's a lot of pride on the line. It's a race win, is a race win. Will he take the fight? He said, I can wait another day. Thomas crashed out. He'll know exactly what happened. He will have seen it. Grandstand view of it. But look, the fight for the 3rd place on the podium, though, certainly isn't over with 9 laps to go. Joshua Watley, who had a big look around there, definitely does not have this in the bag. Yeah, it seems to be a few guys, maybe, obviously they're here to hone racecraft and get on the road to MotoGP. Also need to do a bit of learning how to tie those rain suits up.
Well,
but, it's
even Rory
a
Skinner
little bit
as well.
Flamboyant out there. Yeah. But yeah, Rory, I think as well, it's a pretty interesting question. Not only because of, here we can see Cook right on his tail now. It'll be interesting to see if he'll pounce straight away and how aggressive he's going to be if he does go for it. But Skinner, it's not just a case of, oh, well, I'll have the points gap tomorrow and I'll definitely then win the Cup because, you know, I'll have a bigger chance. Because if he's seen, obviously, Max Cook would then be the other guy in the running. If he's seen Max Cook has the pace to win today in conditions that may be repeated tomorrow, he knows that if he'd crash tomorrow, then it'd all be over. There's a lot of dynamics at play here. I think Cook maybe is going to just not try it here. No.
You were about to say he's going to try it.
No, I wasn't. I lost my English a little bit there.
Sounded like you were about to say, I think he's going to not try it here. But
no, I think he was going to, I was going to say slack off, but I lost the word. Okay. He looked like he was just going to, you know, kind of give it a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if he shadows him for a little while to just have a look at the Scot ahead of him. But definitely looks like he's got the pace at the moment and caught him fairly quickly with a fair bit of this race still to run. So, you know, just do a bit of studying of his rival now and attack and try and cleanly attack, not only for Skinner's sake, but also for his. You know, you don't want to be getting too aggressive in these conditions. It's slippy enough.
Yeah, I was about to add, this is exactly how close they are together. You can really watch where Skinner is able to pull away from him. He's looking to pull away from him over the edge of the curbs again around on this lap. I have also just received a tweet from a good friend Dave saying it is Patterson as well, to confirm that you are exactly right. So thank you very much for that, Dave.
I thought so,
but, but Patterson fighting for that final podium spot as well behind these guys. I was going to make a plea that maybe we could see a little bit more of the battle behind for the podium. Very glad that Max Cook has indeed caught up to Rory Skinner at these stages. 8 laps to go. Could get very, very spicy indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see now Rory obviously will know he's there now. If nothing else, he'll probably be able to hear that bike right behind him. I'm sure the pit board will inform him as well. And not sure, maybe peripheral vision, it'd be a bit too ambitious when Cook was a little bit closer to him on the home straight. But I think now I wouldn't be surprised to see him move into turn 1 if he can get the drive out the final corner. Now he looks a little bit closer than last time round. Maybe be able to get that move done a little bit easier without pushing it too far to the limit.
Yeah, I was wondering there whether maybe Max Cook was just taking a bit of a wider line to really square it off on the exit to make a move down at turn 1, or if Skinner is actually just a bit more supreme on the brakes. But Max Cook pulls out the slipstream. He's making him bid for the lead. He's got the lead. Right over on it. What a move that was. Mirror signal maneuver. Thank you. That is mine. But Rory Skinner doesn't look like he's going to let him have it there. Maybe he wants to follow him now and check out where Max Cook is going to be strongest, where he's been reining him in the most. He takes a look up the inside, but he doesn't decide to make a move there down into turn 2.
Yeah, that was pretty close between those guys. Obviously, you can see Cook was well ahead before turn 1 and just pulled back in there, but the two were very close together. I believe that's our friend Patterson, as we now know how to pronounce it. Lewis Patterson crashed out of that fight, so unfortunately for him, you can see the frustration there, just punching that barrier, but looks up and okay at least. So yeah, low side, just running out of grip there, but not too violent a crash, and obviously just unable to get that bike back in the race.
Yeah, turn 12, ever so tricky. I mean, I was going to say it's one of the real hot spots for crashes. Unfortunately, as the day has gone on, every single spot on the well, as all around the course have been hot spots for crashes. Still got to pay attention at turns 2, turn 4, turn 6, even turn 8, and then turn 12 and turn 14 as well. Saw numerous crashes at all these points today. The conditions aren't too dissimilar now. Got to be so careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Miller was one that pointed out that zone at turn 12, said it's caught out a lot of people. Few MotoGP, obviously him, but also in the lower classes had a lot of crashes today. And yeah, just those kind of low sides just running out of a bit of grip. And yeah, just not quite being able to keep it on the road. So that's a shame for Patterson. Obviously, it was a really good showing so far. But yeah, one more race tomorrow to try and maybe rectify that mistake and just take it a little bit steadier tomorrow and bring that result home to end the season.
Well, we're coming around turn 14 now, one of those hot spots we're talking about. Both Rory Skinner and Max Cook through safely, and they're on to the start and finish straight to count down to 6 laps to go. Now, my only worry here is found. We've got a little bit of a gap now. Rory Skinner seems to have been letting him have it. He wants that championship to roll on tomorrow, so that means you don't have to go running down to Parc Fermé, potentially.
Absolutely. I do have a little bit of a personal investment in this situation.
But my point is now, I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Will Max Cook trying to do a full Thomas Strudwick and completely emulate him and crash out of the lead himself? He's been getting more and more confident as every lap goes by, reining in Skinner, but now he has no reference point of where the limit is aside from his previous experiences around this part. Doesn't want to make a mistake, but look at this battle for third.
Yeah, absolutely. This battle for third is great, and yeah, like you said with Cook, I think it's interesting he didn't immediately take Skinner, so he's not really retained that rhythm that had helped him to catch him, so he'll have to just get back in that groove again now and just try and keep it all together, stay nice and calm. And yeah, it should be an interesting one, but obviously Rory didn't really fight back there. You can see he's just not really out there to take risks, and I can imagine, having seen the crash of Strudwick so closely, that's even more, you know, cause to just stop and think for a second and have a little patience. So This fight, though, now, these guys have all bunched up again. You can see a few gaps starting to appear a few laps ago, but it's really incredible now. We've got a huge gaggle of riders fighting for the podium. You know, there's been a few of these guys who've threatened on occasion, but sometimes it's been a bit of bad luck for the front runners that they've just profited from, which, you know, you have to be in it to win it. That is a valuable thing in itself. So it'd be great for these guys if they can fight for that podium and get that experience of running just this little bit further up and that visit to the rostrum.
Yeah, that would, very, very meaningful experience for all of them. This is that sort of gaggle group of riders is really what we're used to seeing in these Talent Cup programs. Not quite so much the absolute supreme domination of some championship contenders, although we have had just a little bit of spice added with, unfortunately, Thomas Strudwick crashing out. Thankfully, he is okay. Watching from pit wall now as Max Cook has a look around to check where Skinner is as he comes across the line. We're now at 5 laps to go. It is going to be between those two. I don't think there's any chance of the third place guys, the second group, catching either of them. All they have to do is stay on their machines, stay focused, keep the concentration, and then it could be Max Cook takes the win and making Rory Skinner's championship elect roll on to tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. You see great slow-mo there, the added drama of the rain suit just flapping in the wind, and the that sunlight, that beautiful backlighting. It's all coming together really nicely there, isn't it?
Someone
Some
like to
great shots.
Screenshot that and print it off on a wall, put it on a canvas.
Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's obviously, this is going to be a pretty interesting one. Like you said, I don't think those guys who are fighting for third are going to be able to catch them unless there's some sort of absolutely all-out Motegi in the rain style duel coming. And but it looks like Skinner's really slacked off and is content to just take a little less risk, take that second place. But yeah, it's obviously a shame for Strudwick, but it's Cook in the end who seems to have come out guns blazing and done absolutely what he needs to, and so far keeping it well together in the lead.
Yeah, well, famous last words there, Fran. Both you and Neil Morrison today been tempting fate all over the place. My goodness me, as we see Max Cook tackle this other pretty tricky section. Sun is coming down here. It's getting a little bit darker as the laps tick down. Rory Skinner just sort of keeping an eye on him. He has clearly decided, with all that experience that he has in his head, the sensible thing to do here. Max just was hunting him down. Let him go. Let him run his own race. Do not do anything silly. You just have to claim this championship. The championship is what matters, not that race win at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think can't really imagine how it is. Obviously, we don't really have any experience of racing, but these guys, yeah, everything on the line, every single tiny decision you make, especially in these conditions, it's just everything on the line, every corner. Can't imagine the pressure on these guys, but yeah, so far it seems that for Skinner the best way to deal with that is to just have the confidence in himself to wrap it up tomorrow and just make sure he gets that solid 20-point finish today. But it looks like the battle for third has had a few switches in the last lap between Brian Hart and Joshua Watley. So that should be a very good battle to the line, I imagine. And as I say, that Cameron Horseman's just taken over in fourth. So, yeah, these guys now really bunching together a lot. And a couple of them have been on the podium, Brian Hart and Joshua Watley, but a few guys looking for their first rostrum finish here. So some pretty brave guys on the brakes down into there.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild move coming in there for that fifth spot or so from Storm Stacey. Goodness me, coming right up behind Joshua Watley there.
There's Cameron Horseman.
Cameron Horseman.
23, sorry.
Sorry, my apologies. No, I saw it was number 3, Storm Stacey. My eyes deceived me. It was
but yeah, they're super brave out on the into turn 1 there. You can see such a difference compared to the first lap, the first time they all went in there, and they're absolutely just completely cautious, except for Thomas Strudwick, obviously absolutely caning it from the lights out. But these guys now, yeah, it looks like maybe Cameron Horseman and Josh Watley seem to be in the groove a little bit better, but those guys obviously gain at different points in the lap because they were all really together over that start-finish line.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot more confident riding now. They've got to grips with these conditions and we've got a few laps left.
Sorry, my apologies. We do actually have his Nixon catching up on Joshua Watley behind. And the number 2 is a number 3, but it looks like, yes, yeah, Cameron Horsley has got the better of Joshua Watley for now, but Watley did seem fairly confident earlier running in that 3rd position, but a couple of bike lengths between them two now, although very, very confident there. Where is that? Down into turn 11, I think it is. And then we're coming on to the run down towards turn 12. Saw Patterson crash out there as well. But
Cook still safely in the lead. That's good to see. It always makes me nervous when we cut away from a fairly exciting shot. Why we've done that.
Yeah.
But our race leader still got it absolutely pinned there. And you can see, I think that must be a lapped runner there just behind Rory Skinner. You can see the blue flag just getting taken back in there at the marshal post. But Max Cook seems to have this absolutely wrapped up.
Yeah, it could be. Although, well, 3 laps to go. All it takes is one little error, as we keep alluding to. Skinner, though, comfortably behind him. Well, good news is then it doesn't seem we will be actually heading to tomorrow with the champion already crowned. Wave your hand at me a little bit. There's still some time left for that yet.
I'm not so sure. I think obviously it will take a big bolt of drama to make the Cup get decided today, given the gap between these two guys at the front. And yeah, that vested interest I do have in not having to go out in the rain down to Parc Ferme, you know. Well,
my now vested interest is that these two can pull out enough of a gap so we can comfortably see them both cross the finish line in time so that we can get their celebrations out of the way and then see what happens with the battle behind us going out into the final corner. You talk about spice, that is going to be red hot, red curry for all Indian style that is going to set your mouth on fire as we come down into turn 14 for the final time. Just a couple of laps to go. Cannot wait for that, but these conditions absolutely did seem, although there's too much change in these conditions, it's still so much spray. If you're in the heat of battle down that home straight, you're going to be getting all sorts on your screen. And there we got Chan Onchu looking on. He is someone who's had an absolute barnstorming day at the office.
Yeah, absolutely, obviously. And there's twin brother Dennis, yeah. So those two guys experience of the Asia Talent Cup, and Dennis is the champion there. Chan Onchu, the reigning Red Bull MotoGP Rookies champion. So pretty good CVs there from the Asia Talent Cup program, and these guys, I'm sure, will be pretty eager to gain that kind of form in other championships as well as they move on and move up. But yeah, I think at the moment it's pretty much the Cook show. I think seems fairly calm, not too many moments either, all keeping it nice and together. But yeah, I wonder if Chan and Dennis are learning anything from these guys too, maybe how to attack the conditions tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, potentially so. We're watching on with eager. I tell you what, if Max Cook looks as though he's going to cross the line, do we want to scream ready, steady, Cook at the end of it? Maybe. We shall see, but this battle for third is far from over. Look at that. They just, Watley just gets looked over there, gets stared at. Oh, we're going to be getting a bit too argy-bargy down to turn 1. Oh, we could well be, but Joshua Watley supreme on the brakes there. Sort of remnants of Rossi on Lorenzo in Catalonia 2009. Excellent.
I think it's maybe a little bit extreme, but yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to big him up here.
Absolutely refused to be overtaken there into turn 1 to Joshua Watley, and here again, refusing to give up that 4th, although he has had to cede that 3rd position through there. So we're getting a little bit close for these guys. I think it's going to be a pretty impressive finish. Like you said, that final corner as well. We've even had titles decided there before at this track, Watley. And again, very, very confident. Yeah. Very, very confident. So there, obviously, we didn't see the move where he did lose that 3rd position before. Be interesting to see if there has been a place where maybe he's just not quite as strong on the brakes. Maybe if those two guys behind are just gaining on him a little bit. But we've still got another whole lap to go after this one. So yeah, have to see what they've got more things in their bag of tricks there, because it's obviously not working that well at the moment. Joshua Watley instantly fighting back. Yeah, has he got an ace up his sleeve as we head into the final lap? Who knows? I think that was the phrase you're looking for, wasn't it? That was. I was like, bag of tricks, box of tricks, magic. We got there.
Yeah, finding the ticker. But yes, Joshua Watley, that was seriously impressive. And Jack Nixon, the number 2, just behind Horseman. Looks as though he's not giving up on this podium yet either.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, it just seemed to concertina a lot. Obviously, you get that corner by corner, and it seems like suddenly they've gained, and then they'll lose out again in the exit. But definitely, I think Watley now seems to have seemed to make a decision. Maybe he's just going to hammer it and try and gain that gap, because obviously on the last lap, wet race like this, it's risky if you're just looking over your shoulder waiting for that attack. You know, if they're willing to really get pretty aggressive, you don't really want to be the guy with the target on your back. So maybe if he does have a little bit in his pocket, just push a little bit more now, keep that gap, and just keep himself in safe, clear air. But we'll have to see next time they come down the start-finish straight if they can gain in the slipstream or round that final corner maybe. Yeah, well, we're on to the last lap now, and Max Cook only has to keep it together for not 13 but 12 more corners to claim victory and to potentially keep his championship hopes alive. Rory Skinner has to keep upright as well to make sure he doesn't receive any further dent in his championship challenge.
It did look as though he could take the championship today once Strudwick crashed out at sort of the first third distance or so. But Max Cook has put pay to that. He says, absolutely not. I'm taking this right down to the wire. And what fate shall befall Joshua Watley, Cameron Horseman or Jack Nixon behind them, battling out for the third position. Just a few more sectors for them to tackle as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can see over the line last time around, Watley did have about 4/10 in his pocket, so maybe he has just pulled the pin a little bit. Obviously, that brings with it extra risk as well. It's not simply a case of, oh, I'll go faster now. But yeah, it seems to have maybe timed that pretty well, the Brit. We'll have to see when we go back to that battle whether he's kept that throughout the rest of this last lap as well.
Yeah, we shall see. Max Cook masterfully tackling turn 11. He's going to come along this little squirt all down to turn 12. A big, big danger zone here. Got to keep it together. Take it very, very carefully, and then even more carefully down into turn 14.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bit nervous watching it.
Yeah.
It's corner by corner when you're alone in the lead as well. The pressure is absolutely immense. But seems to have kept it pretty well round here and no dramas at all. I think Max Cook is definitely going to make sure this cup goes down to tomorrow.
Well, there we go then. That is it. The cup goes to the wire. Max Cook is ready. Steady Cook. He goes across the finish line. He takes the win. He takes it to the wire. Rory Skinner confirms second place. What's going to happen at the final corner for third?
I think it might be a pretty dramatic one. We'll have to see. Obviously, we've not got an update on that gap, so we're not sure how close they are to Watley. Looks like it's a drag to the line maybe, and there's obviously some drama gone off there. But Josh Watley, absolutely fastest lap of the race. Incredible. That must have been a lap runner just ahead of him.
It is. That is exactly right.
Extra complication, not what you want when you're in that fight. But
and they got the same helmet.
Exactly. But yeah, amazing performance from Joshua Watley there. Obviously just pulled that pin to perfection. Like I said, 8/10 he was ahead of Cameron Horseman when he crossed the line, so double to that gap he'd had when they started that last lap. Really, really impressive, and obviously pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, I did wonder at the point when we saw him just on the approach to turn 12, Joshua Watley turn around and have a look at all the other guys, whether he'd be feeling a little bit under pressure there, but no, fastest lap of the race, boom, have some of this sunshine, and that is his first podium since Snetterton.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, impressive from him. Obviously, he is the youngest, if not one of the youngest, if not the youngest in the field. A little bit less experience, although he has raced in a few other things like European Talent Cup. But that's really impressive podium for him. That'll make him supremely confident heading into tomorrow. Obviously, not got the cup on the line for him, but I think maybe the most confident man going in tomorrow could be Max Cook. He's almost got. When you're 24 points down, you know you absolutely just have to win the race. Yeah. Everything you have to throw at it. So in some ways, that's the pressure off as well. So that single point could mean an awful lot tomorrow. But Rory Skinner, I think he'll probably feel pretty satisfied with those 20 points. Solid race, good performance, no mistakes. Obviously, you know, played the long game a little bit. Hopefully that will pay off tomorrow. But we've seen for Strudwick today, drama can hit you very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm in such two minds about this now, Fran. Like, Rory Skinner, I really thought, well, that is the kid's mountain of experiences. That is a quality wheelie, by the way, on such a tiny bike.
And in such terrible conditions. That is, yeah, definitely. So I guess he's definitely happy with his race then if he's able to pull that off. So, yeah, I think Josh Watley is probably the happiest man on track, though, judging by the celebration seen so far. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty impressive race from him. Obviously, like I said, that's obviously speaks a lot of his racecraft as well, to have chosen that moment to just take that extra bit of risk. If you don't take that risk for the whole 17 laps of the race, and you decide, OK, now is when I'm going to play my cards, and it's a lap and a half on the limit, you've got an awful lot less chance of crashing. So he's obviously done that, judged it to perfection, and is super impressive 8/10 clear of Cameron Horseman there.
I'm loving these celebrations,
yeah, definitely. It's incredible.
I see you won the race.
Almost does look like it. But yeah, some good results there, and we've only actually had 10 finishes, so that tells you how difficult the conditions have been. So Horseman, Nixon, Bourne, Hart, Campbell, Claridge and Farah. I think he was a lap down.
Farah
I
was a
believe
lap down. He crashed
had a
and
bit
then
of
he
a crash
remounted.
and then managed to remount, yeah. But yeah, so, you know, difficult race for a lot of guys out there. Difficult conditions, so Skinner's 20 points are super valuable. Cook's performance is very impressive, and Josh Watley looks like the happiest man on planet Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, Josh Watley, another podium for him, 13 years old. I'm trying to work out the only other 13-year-old we have was Harvey Claridge, who was born in the April. If Joshua Watley's born in the September, who's older?
I believe Josh Watley started the season at 12, so I think it's that he's just become 13. So yeah, I think he is the youngest rider in the field. So yeah. yeah, pretty impressive stuff to be doing that, choosing when to pull the pin, keeping it together, getting another podium. So I think he's definitely, yeah, you can see the height difference there.
And if he's 13 years old and you've got your man who's in second place about to win the championship, potentially Rory Skinner, 17 years old, what is Josh Watley going to be doing by the time he's 17?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that's quite a long time to learn a bit more racecraft and just gain a bit more experience. You can see the fam down here of both varieties.
What? The Onchu twins, family of Max Cook.
Well, you know, I mean the MotoGP, the Road to MotoGP family down there, and celebrating the win there. Looks pretty happy with that as well. A little bit more understated than Josh Watley maybe, but yeah, super impressive performance from Cook, especially given that start wasn't the easiest. Got a little bit lost in that mid-pack. So there you can see Strudwick, and you can see just the water in that gravel trap as well.
Oh, that must be, I'll tell you what, that must be one of the worst feelings in the world, not least because he's potentially just lost he has lost the British Talent Cup, but also how wet that must be. Your leathers must be absolutely soaked through. There's nothing worse than stepping with your whole foot in a puddle, to be your whole body lying in the gravel like that. Oh, grim.
Yeah, definitely. It's not physically pleasant at all, never mind the crash as well, but like you said, the disappointment of losing that British Talent Cup. But it was an incredible performance up to that point. Maybe you did feel like you just had to throw everything at it, because, you know, obviously he was 12 points down going into today. If he'd lost another chunk of points to Rory Skinner today, it would have been still super long odds tomorrow. So, you know, it's a real shame for Thomas Strudwick. He's been the championship leader a few times this season. It's chopped and changed a bit, and had some really, really incredible races and wins. But great season. Sadly, won't be the Cup winner. That will be one of these guys in Parc Ferme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rory Skinner, then getting the race
very, very happy
off.
still, isn't he?
So it did last till the end of the race then, at least. There's have to see if tomorrow they're a little bit less flamboyant rainwear, if we do have similar conditions. Looks like it may be a little bit better tomorrow, which could be interesting again. But yeah, here you can see
Joshua Watley,
much
so
calmer
happy.
now, much calmer now. But still, yeah, super stoked with that race, and already, you know, looking at the camera like a pro. Just all those hand signals, absolute classics. So they start early with the racecraft and the PR craft.
Yeah. I was just thinking, actually, comparing that sort of celebration, I think the only man I've ever seen more enthusiastic this year was Quartararo back in Catalonia. Strangely enough, that's the second mention I've had of that of the weekend. That was one of the best celebrations, I think, maybe even ever. Just absolutely pumped. So it's always great to see that emotion from these guys. Obviously, it means a lot to them. And it's also great to see always coming back to Parc Ferme, just having a bit of a chat, shaking hands. Always great attitude and sportsmanship. That's also really, really important. I think here they're, yeah, here we go, up, down to the podium, up to the podium. Yeah, up to the podium, definitely here in Valencia. Not too far in Valencia, at least. And if you're wondering what those bikes are on track, that is the Cuna de Campeones, the Valencian championship that we have here. They're getting round to go round to the grid to start their race as well. Yeah, exactly. Had a bit of a shock yesterday that I sat in the office and heard bikes on track, thought it must be BTC, and then they were all orange. Very confusing. But don't worry, yeah. I had that with the Asia Talent Cup and Moto3 back in Japan. Thought you'd late for commentary. Well, here we have the results. Yeah, exactly. Final results. Max Cook then takes the win from Rory Skinner. Joshua Watley completes the podium, but look at that, a quick group behind him, all the way down to Franco Bourne. So Cameron Horseman, Jack Nixon just missed out on the podium. Franco Bourne just behind them, Brian Hart, Jonathan Campbell and Harvey Claridge. And then I think our final finisher, despite that incident that he did suffer in that race, is Charlie. I'm not sure on the pronunciation of that. Farah, I would say. Farah is kind of what I want to say. And then look at the list of guys who crashed out. Sadly, two of our fastest and most kind of guys in form in qualifying, Strudwick and Fenton Seabright. So shame for them. And, yeah, have to see if they can make a dent in the results tomorrow. That will be another thing to consider for Cook and Skinner tomorrow. Obviously, they do now become the only two guys in play for the title, but they will have Seabright and Strudwick back on track with them, fighting it out for race 2. Yeah, exactly. Well, going to get a look at it now, how the championship standing is confirmed or not, maybe. It's decided to go hiding from us, decided to hide away. So it's 24 points, anyway, we can tell you. So that's Rory Skinner essentially just has to finish tomorrow in a point-scoring position, or not even, to be honest. If it all kind of depends on Max Cook. If he wins it, then yeah, that'll be an interesting one. But it's 24-point gap
with difficult conditions, it's not necessarily all over there, but you can see Strudwick just moving down one place in the standings with that crash out of contention and out of contention for the Cup as well. So really sad for him after a really stunning season, though. That's something to be proud of. And then Josh Watley securing that 4th place evermore with another great podium finish. So a few movers there. Franco Born, that was some good points for him, keeping it on the road. That's, like I said, that's an important skill in itself. You know, you got to be in it to win it. And a few guys just moving down a place there got leapfrogged by Franco Born. And then the final page here of those guys.
Yeah.
So everyone on there scored points. Just the one for Sam Laffins, but you know, super competitive grid. Only the top 15 scoring. It's difficult to really get up there and fight it out with these top guys.
Seriously tough, and that is not the only thing that the coaches, the guys Alberto Puig, look for in these riders. It's not just, it is of course about who is the champion, who is the race winner, who gets the podiums, but they look for that little something extra in the riders.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing, Alberto has said quite a few of the selection events as well, you know, if maybe the guys haven't been selected or they haven't been the fastest, the key thing they always look for is improvement as well as pure pace. You know, on the day, if you're not the fastest, if you come back on day 2 and gain a second, that's also something to write home about. So you can see now the guys getting on the podium. Good reception there despite the rain. A few guys down in pit lane clapping. And I think then we'll get the national anthem that would have been the same for any of them. Yep. But national anthem of the UK. And trophies, I believe that's Andrew from Two Wheels for Life there, giving the trophy to Joshua Watley for 3rd. And then we'll get Rory Skinner for that super valuable 2nd place for him in his hunt for the Cup. And Max Cook, the win it or bin it hero of the day with those 25 points to just stay in contention.
Yeah, there you go, Max Cook. Congratulations, you kept the dream alive. And you got a race win with it. Congratulations, what a ride that was for him. Here is the Great British National Anthem. Well, put your cap back on, Max Cook. It says 1st place. That's exactly what you got today. Rory Skinner took 2nd place, keeping that dream, pretty much cementing the dream for for tomorrow. He could be the champion. 1 point in it, all to play for. Will Joshua Watley play another card in it? Well, join us at 4:15 local time tomorrow as we find out in the final race of the British Talent Cup for 2018, the inaugural race. Here's how we got here today. What a start that was for Thomas Strudwick, the number 8, and then Fenton Seabright as well, the number 22, full gas. But as we found out later on, both of them succumbed to the conditions.
Yeah, definitely. You could see there as well, Max Cook just losing out a little bit. Wasn't in that front group at the start, a little bit more cautious, but that did pay off and managed to work his way through. A couple of crashes as well helping him out, but like we said a few times, in it to win it. And there's the first one, absolute heartbreak there and out of Cup contention. Oh no, sorry.
That was Fenton Seabright crashing out there.
Indeed, that 22, so that was the first heartbreak of the day. And then we got another shock as former race leader Thomas Strudwick also sadly fell foul of the conditions.
But that was
and a bit more of a dramatic crash there, that high side down at turn 12 for Lewis Patterson. And yeah, Rory Skinner at this point looked like he got it pretty wrapped up, but it wasn't to be.
No.
As Thomas Strudwick had crashed out of that lead. It's a pretty mature reaction there from him after such an incredible season. And yeah, sad times, but a season to be proud of. And then these two guys now left in it for the challenge tomorrow.
Yeah, a real game of chess it was for the rest of the race or so as Thomas Strudwick came to watch from the pit wall or so. This was the move that basically got Max Cook the win. Proper slipstream, classic Valencia straight manoeuvre. Pulled straight back in front of him, left him absolutely no room to continue. And there was another rider going out there. Oh, that was 21. Oh, that was actually Patterson there going down. Oh, this was another crash which you didn't see earlier. Oh, that was the number 4 of Scott Ogden going down. We did see a crashed out, of course. Only 10 riders there. This was Max Cook coming across the finish line to take the win. Well, that is it from the coverage for today. And we'll see you tomorrow when we'll find our champion of the inaugural British Talent Cup. Who will it be? Will it be Max Cook, the number 5, or the number 11, Rory Skinner? With 24 points separate the two. Max Cook has to win to have any chance of winning it. He's done it today. Will he do it tomorrow? Find out then.